support people, is how I've kind of created my own unique model, if you like. And I will be talking about the things that Madeleine has asked about, which is water, exercise, and adrenal fatigue. But from a perspective of how I actually do things with my clients. And at the end, there will be a screen which you can do a screenshot, which will be the adrenal fatigue recipe on what to do at around about 11 o'clock, around about 3 o'clock, when most people have this fatigue. Having said that, that's based, very often it's based upon what you're eating. So let's crack on. So we've got so many challenges in life at the moment, which is down to a whole manipulated agenda, which I'm sure many of you will know what I'm talking about here. And the doctors are now refusing to see people. So what do? We have to take responsibility for our own health and well-being. Unfortunately, we're not taught, certainly my generation and the generation or two beyond me, we're not taught how to do that. So we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to do our own research. Most people are incapable of doing that. Obviously, I'm generalizing hugely here, but they just don't know where to look. It's not their fault, it's just the way things have been. See what I'm saying here? It's not Elaine says do this, do that. You sort yourself out. You're responsible for your own health and well-being. If there is anything that I say that piques your interest, then obviously check with your own GPs, medical practitioners, etc. So I am known in some quarters for beating kidney disease that I was born with, and also 4 different versions of cancer. And through those journeys, I have learned heaps and heaps and heaps. I've taught myself, I've studied, I've gained credentials, qualifications, etc. along the way. But the most important thing is that I've taken responsibility for my own self healing. So the kidney disease I was actually born with, but because I was a competitive swimmer in my teens and I represented my county at national level, I was training twice a day in a chlorinated pool, and it's recently been that chlorine causes cancer. Whoopie-doo. So during that time, I was frequently visited with projectile and urine infection. So I just see my internet connection is unstable, but I shall crack on. Hopefully you will be able to still hear me.
So Elaine, what I've done is I've turned off your camera because we need to hear you more than we need to see you. Okay.
Yeah. Marvelous.
Could you also do me a quick favor and just go up in the top right hand corner and go to view on your PDF? Go to view.
Okay, view. How do I do that? View. Okay, yeah, view.
And then go to full screen mode for me, please.
Full screen mode. Okay. That's better. Marvelous. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so I was getting these frequent health challenges and nobody knew what was what. Eventually, at the age of about 22, I got a diagnosis that apparently only people who are prostitutes get. I could only possibly have been given this condition by sleeping around. Well, little did the woman who was the consultant know that I'd never seen a man's body naked until the day I got married. Ho ho. So there we go. But what turned out was a kidney disease that is very rare, still rare today. And so I spent many years teaching doctors how to deal with this particular disease, which I no longer have, I hasten to add. So I was put on medication, which were antibiotics. I ended up on a 3-week rotating cycle of antibiotics. And again, we know that antibiotic dependency can also lead to chronic health problems and cancer. So in my mid-40s, I woke up to health, natural health, chiropractic, shiatsu, nutrition, etc. And then that's when my study started. So that's over 25 years ago. Long story short, my kidneys work better now than the average person. I've not taken any medication for over 25 years, knowingly, apart from the odd splattering here and there. And I've had 4 different versions of cancer. including stage 4, which I beat in 3 months back in 2015. So lots has happened, lots of interesting twists and turns, and that's led me to where I am now, helping people. So when we give our body the right environment, it will heal itself. We don't need to do anything. We just need to look after our body. We just need to give it the right environment. So how do we do that? How do we know what's out of kilter? The way I do that currently is what I've developed over the last few years, which is a 4-pillar approach, if you like. So I have a fingerprint blood test, which goes home to the client from a laboratory. I have a hair mineral analysis, different laboratory, goes home. I have a behavior profile and a metabolic assessment. Those last 2 are both online. So nobody needs to go anywhere. There's no visits anywhere. People can do this themselves at home. This is an example of a hair analysis, one of a tiny extract of a multi-page report. And you can see here this person's calcium, magnesium are off the chart. The copper is not ideal either. These measurements are what they are, but it's the ratio that is the key thing between the difference between good health and not so good health. And this is something that's never ever picked up by regular doctors. They don't pick up this stuff. So I'm kind of going upside down. I'm not looking at symptoms per se, although they're interesting. I'm looking at what is the body doing now and how we can fix it from the bottom up. This is another example, a small extract from another person's report, and you can see this person is full of arsenic. Arsenic, lead, aluminium, they're the key things, and also mercury. They are the big factors that we see day to day from the clients' reports that come back to me. NHS never picks this up. Here we have some examples from the blood analysis. Liver stress, oxidative stress. We all have oxidative stress, lymphatic congestion, parasites. Whatever the top line diagnosis is for any condition, there will always be underlying health challenges. So whilst the medical profession will be dealing with the top line, unless the bottom line and the emotional aspects are dealt with, the person does not heal, period. It's not negotiable. That's what happens. So here are some more examples of what we can pick up on the blood analysis and the hair analysis combination here. I'll just leave that slide there for a minute while I take a sip of water or red wine in equal doses. I'm all about balance, as those who know me appreciate. So there's a whole ton of stuff that we pick up through these 2 scientifically analysed reports. The other aspect that I look at is behaviour. So I specialise in something called the DISC model, which goes back to Hippocrates in 400 BC. And he he identified what he called then the 4 humours. And he could tell by the bodily fluids, the colours of the bodily fluids, what was going on within the body. And from there, he ascertained and came up with a plan on how to heal the individual. And all this is natural. So I use the DISC model. If you Google DISC, you'll come up with millions and millions of hits. You won't find these words. These words are my version of DISC. My version is direct, inspiring, supportive, and conscientious, depicted by these animals. And the animals are there because when I first got trained in this over 25 years ago, I started working as a consultant, mentoring head teachers, and then in turn the senior management team, and then in turn class teachers and so on, right down to kindy age. And with the youngsters, you obviously can't get them to complete an online questionnaire, but you can ask them, if you were an animal, which of these animals would you identify with? And sure as eggs are eggs, they will identify with the behaviour pattern that links with their behavioural profile, their leading behavioural characteristics. So that enabled the teachers to have a good understanding of how to nurture these young children into ways that suit them, rather than the teacher stamping their personality on every child in the class and expecting everything to be hunky-dory. This is why we have so many children who get slung out of school or are excluded, you know, for whatever reason. It's very often because they just have a direct conflict with the teacher, and it's just unfair and it's just not right. And that's why one of the reasons why I chose this model, because I can work with young students from the age of about 12 to fill the online question, and anybody up to senior executive position. One of the other aspects that I work with when I'm into people is checking the pH readings. This is something very simple that you can all do at home. It's never spoken about. Checking your pH level is extremely important from time to time. You don't need to do it, you know, every day, even every week, maybe a couple of times a month. We're told time and time again we have to have a pH level of 7. Nonsense. The blood is 7.365 to start with. We can't check our own blood, but it balances itself, so we don't really need to worry too much about it unless we're in a chronic situation. Our saliva should be between 6.5 and 7 reading. Our urine should be between 5.5 and 6. And you can test that by just buying some simple pH strips. Go for the plastic strips on Amazon or wherever. You get about 100 in a bottle. Don't use the paper ones because they're not as effective. But this is the measures you should be looking for. Saliva always has to be higher than the urine, and that shows that you've got a good flow of nutrition going in and waste coming out, and it's a good balance between acid and alkaline. And it's a myth that we need to have an acid environment. We need to have a balance, neither alkaline nor acidic. We need to have a balance, and our balance changes according to what you eat, how you live, you know, what you drink. So keep a food diary and check your measurements. So if you're not feeling quite right, check what you've been eating, check your pH levels, and you will find the answer yourself amongst those measurements. So I have a health program, blah, blah, lovely, wonderful. Gut health. The most important thing that we can do for ourselves is eat the right things. So avoiding dairy. Dairy is acidic. Dairy creates mucus. It's not good to have dairy. I had a client recently who had, he said to me, I do miss eggs. So I said, well, why are you missing eggs? He said, well, you told me not to have dairy. He thought eggs came from dairy. Eggs come from chickens. Chickens aren't dairy. So I have to, be explicit now that the dairy, you can have eggs. But then there's a school of thought that says eggs aren't right. So you have to do what's right for your body at the end of the day. But pretty much these are all generic things: plant-based organic foods, nothing processed because it's far too full of rubbish fats, sugars, etc. Avoiding sugar because sugar feeds cancer. Oxygen kills cancer. Sugar feeds it. Cooking fresh daily like grandma used to do. I live in Portugal, and you can go in any cafe, any restaurant, and you will have a proper cooked meal like grandma used to do. It's delightful here, living the Mediterranean way. It's absolutely gorgeous. So organic spices and herbs, but buy organic wherever you can do. If you are a meat eater, go for the grass-fed organic where possible. I take live organic wheatgrass every day. I take 2 shots because I'm over 50, and that's a recommended dose. But I've had clients who have literally reversed. There's 2 clients who've reversed stage 4 cancer, liver cancer, by having a high dose of this every day. So we can talk about that another time. Now, Madeleine started off talking about water and exercise because when I spoke last week at another event, it was like a podcast interview sort of thing, and we were talking about water. Never, ever, 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 ever drink from the tap. Doesn't matter what country you're in, what postcode you're in, whatever. All of the water that comes through the kitchen tap has been tampered with. It's not pure water. It is doctored in some way or another. And even though it might have got through all kinds of testing, bearing in mind that the testing stations are biased anyway. It will have chlorine, it will have fluoride, and umpteen and one other things. So please do not drink from the tap. Also, never, ever drink from plastic bottles. You don't know where the plastic bottle has been before it gets to the store, how long it's been on the back of a truck, where the refrigeration situation hasn't been working, where it's been on a loading bay getting warm. The plastic leaches into the water, it's carcinogenous, and there's a singer, I can't remember what her name is, Sheryl Crow, that's it, Sheryl Crow, and she swears black's blue that her breast cancer came from drinking oodles and oodles of water from plastic bottles when she was on the road. Whether that is or not, who knows? But please don't drink from plastic bottles, and certainly please don't reuse plastic bottles, and the same problem there. Dr. Zach Bush, have a look on the internet. 4-minute workout. Dr. Zach Bush, YouTube, 4-minute workout. It is incredible. I've got a few people that I'm mixed with in networking circles, and they swear by this. 3 times a day during the working day, they get up with the people that they're working with. Some people do this online. It's a 4-minute workout. Don't care who you are, how old you are, how infirm you are, you can do the 4-minute workout in some fashion or another, even if you're sitting on a chair. It creates oxygen in your system. It generates nitric oxide, and that helps your whole body to function better. So no water from the tap, no plastic bottles. Follow Zach Bush. And here is the adrenal cocktail that Madeleine was asking about. Between around about 10 till 2, 11 till 3, something like that, people often tend to get a slump. And it's very often because of what they've been eating at breakfast and lunch, eating crap basically. And when you eat that, your body is going to suffer a few hours later. So first of all, look at what you're eating, keep a food diary, eat healthily, eat fresh where you can do, and organic and all that lovely stuff. If you do struggle, here is a recipe. Just take a screenshot of here and then use this. It's very, very effective. MSM is another natural substance that you can have, which super boosts. So you don't need to have MSM, but MSM will also, I can't remember what the magnesium something or other, it's lots of long words. So MSM, just Google it or ask me for my Cytoplan discount code, and you can use that if you're in the UK. And you've got my Linktree contact details there, and that's all I've got to say. So hopefully that's a good start off for you to look after yourself with the self-care thingamy. So how do I get out of this now? Have I been talking to myself?
No, we all heard you.